Hello, everybody. Here we are back again with yet another 4-hour work week success story. This time it's Michelle Dale. Michelle is actually is from the UK, but basically is that's right. Huh? You're from the UK.
Yeah, from
And she's a digital nomad, also inspired by Tim Ferriss and the 4-hour workweek book, creator of a six-figure virtual assistant business, which is called Virtual Miss Friday. And I'm looking forward very much to talk about two main subjects today, which is on the one side how Michelle made it, how Michelle created her business from scratch, basically, and which is now her income source for her nomadic lifestyle. So welcome to the show. Let's call it Michelle, and I'm very happy that we could make it for the interview now.
yeah, David, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure and a real honour actually, because I've been checking out your website and I happened to notice that it's sort of male dominated in there. So I think I'm the first female 4-hour success story, which is great. Honoured.
Yeah, that's definitely. I hadn't actually noticed that, so it's also an interesting fact for me now. But yeah, even a better reason now to have finally a woman or female 4-hour workweek success story here on our side. So the introduction was just very short. Maybe throughout the conversation, of course, we'll dig a little bit deeper into who is Michelle Dale, etc. And what I want to ask, how I want to kick off the conversation is with the usual question of how were you basically inspired by the 4-hour work week, or what's your connection to the book?
Okay, well, it's very interesting actually, because I was sort of trying to do the 4-hour work week before I even knew it sort of existed really. It was back in 2005 when I started to rethink my life and think that, the 9 to 5 as it's called was really not for me, and I did a bit of soul searching, and I thought to myself then that maybe travel would be a good way for me to kind of go out and find myself what I really wanted to do. I was in a job, it was a very good job, I suppose, or a lot of people would consider it to be a good job, but again, it was like the commute was like more than an hour a day. I was in mortgages and loans and banking, so it was all figures and commission and sales, and at that time it was the financial market was pretty on a downer, so life was becoming pretty hard. I had a 250 grand mortgage and I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I literally took the decision to sell everything, my home, my properties, my right down to my socks. And I got rid of everything, and then I basically packed a bag and went to Egypt, not really knowing where it was going to take me. It was at that time that I started to look into virtual assistants and other ways of making money online. But the problem with the making money online thing, I was not like one of these outgoing kind of bloggy type people who could just go and work with affiliates and set up a blog and sell products, and it seemed too difficult to me. So that's when I started getting into the field of virtual assistants.
Yeah.
Then one day one of my clients happened to say to me, this was like a couple of years later after I was traveling and I'd started my business, about the 4-hour work week. And he said that he'd read it, and he was a business coach. So he said, oh, you should really read this book. It's very, very interesting. So I got the book. Ta-da! I got the book and I read it. And there was a section in there that really hit home for me. And that was about the 80-20 rule in a business. And whilst my business, very fortunately, in touch wood, it was ticking over. I mean, once I quit my job back in 2005, I haven't had another job since. And my business was kind of ticking over with myself, and I didn't really need a great deal. I liked this whole new rich idea that, you get money through experiences and through life and through travel and doing things that you love. But it was interesting because I hit the 80-20 rule and I thought to myself I could really apply that in my business. And at that point, things really started to change for me, because I completely implemented the 80-20 rule in terms of my clients, the services that I was offering, the new clients that I was bringing in. And it really, really worked for me. So that was a massive takeaway from that book. But also I found it very interesting in the book about virtual assistants, because obviously he heavily touches on, you know, the virtual assistant side of things. But obviously it's like, you know, people in India and the Philippines, or, you know, outsourcing to offshore. And at that point, I thought to myself as a VA, God, this is what people are reading. This is what people are thinking about virtual assistants. This is like a great insight into the mind of a potential client. You know, the things that they find good about virtual assistants, the things that they don't like about virtual assistants or have difficulties with. So the book also provided me, you know, if you spin it on its head as a service provider, it provided me a huge insight into what my clients were thinking. Why, you know, a lot of people contacted me off the back of that book. Like, oh, I've read the 4 Hour Work Week, you know, I'm looking for a virtual assistant now. So it was interesting. It was an interesting angle for me to come in and start using that book, because really I didn't think of it from a point of, well, I could do the 4 Hour Work Week and, you know, be, you know, doing the samba every weekend off somewhere or rock climbing. But I thought to myself, I could really apply these strategies and this business acumen in my own business as a virtual assistant. And that's when it kind of escalated and evolved, and I went into consulting, and now I have a VA team. So it's yeah, it's been a heavy influence for me.
Okay, so basically, if I understood correctly, you had created already your company, your VA company, before you read the book, right?
Yeah. I created the VA company. Well, I started looking into becoming a VA in 2005 when I left the UK, and it wasn't until 2008 that I discovered the 4 Hour Work Week. And it was almost like reassuring, because I knew that what I was trying to achieve, what I had been doing, which was really so alien to everybody, they were like, what are you doing? You know, come back and get a job. Come on. Stop this extended holiday. But I didn't want to stop my extended holiday. I wanted to carry on. I wanted to do my own business. I wanted to make money. But obviously there came a point a little bit later on. I met my husband while I was traveling, had children. And it was at that point I was like, you know, I love my business, I love what I do, but I need to break away a little bit more. I need to somehow turn this into more of a passive income business as well, so I can spend more time with my family and just doing the things that I love to do. And work is one of them, you know, my business is one of them, but, you know, I also wanted to really crank up my income as a virtual assistant in order to be able to kind of have more of the 4 Hour Work Week kind of lifestyle.
Okay, good. And you know, it's always a big discussion when people talk about 4 Hour Work Week. Most of the times you get when you talk about 4 Hour Work Week, people tell you, "Ah, come on, you're just a lazy person." What's your definition, your own personal definition of the 4 Hour Work Week? Because obviously not everybody understands it, you know, in a literal way of working only 4 hours. But it's you know, it's a whole philosophy behind that expression. What's your definition of that? And according to your definition, are you living the 4 Hour Work Week, your own 4 Hour Work Week?
Okay, in terms of the definition, I'm kind of like a black and white kind of person. So I would say that when I picked up that book and I saw the 4 Hour Work Week, I thought to myself, this guy's working 4 hours a week. And, you know, from the content of the book, you would think that you would take it literally, that maybe he really is working 4 hours a week. But it just didn't seem realistic in terms of, you know, to be able to fit in every kind of business model. But it's interesting because at the end of 2010, I started to go into VA training, and because I really wanted to do the VA training, I wanted to help and teach people how to replicate what I was doing, which was pretty unusual, but everyone was very interested in it. That's when I was like, okay, I have to take a step back out of my, you know, my services business in order to be able to provide that. So it was at that point that I did some rather extreme strategies and took a few risks in my business, but they, touch wood, paid off. So now, in terms of the 4-hour work week myself, not in a literal sense, I work more than 4 hours a week, but, maybe from my own personal point of view, I'm doing better than the 4-hour work week. Maybe I'm not working any hours a week because it's my life. I love what I do. My business is very much a part of my life and a part of my family as well. Certainly in terms of doing the blogging side of things, which I'm doing now. The business is part of my love for travel. And I love technology. I love the whole digital aspect of being able to work online and have this kind of freedom, which I know doesn't really exist in the real world, my old real world, So yeah, I'm living the 4-hour work week for myself in terms of the fact that I do what I like, I go where I want, and I have a limitless earning potential. So yeah, why not?
Okay, sounds very good. Let's jump right into the first topic then, which is in this case then your virtual assistant business, Virtual Miss Friday. We will not talk too much about virtual assistant services per se, because I think it's a widely known subject.
Yeah.
But of course, everybody can check out your website, virtualmissfriday.com. And I like the slogan. What does it say? It's not only Robinson Crusoe who has everything done by
Friday. That's where it all came from. The Virtual Miss Friday Desert Island thing.
It's a very nice tagline. So we will talk more about how you use that business independently from the fact now that you didn't start it after reading the book, but already before. So we'll use that as we'll talk about how you're using that as your income use, and how to live the 4-hour work week lifestyle, let's say, according to your definition, your personal definition. So when you read the book in 2008, you said you were already working on your business for 2 to 3 years, right?
Not necessarily. I started the business and I started researching VAs in 2005, which is when I left to go traveling. And at that point, I spent roughly around 2 years until around 2007. I was trying to develop the skills that I needed to be able to work online, because coming from a financial background, I thought to myself, well, I could help people with their mortgages online, but I wanted to get out of that. I didn't want to take that with me in my new life. So I started to learn Dreamweaver, Photoshop, all these different systems, HTML. I wanted to offer a more different kind of service, but I didn't have the skills. So it took me about 2 years of hardcore 14 hours a day learning Adobe for me to actually get to the point where I was building my own websites and doing my own stuff. And also during that time I was freelancing. I had a couple of clients who were connections from England, and I was just kind of like saying to people, I want to learn how to do this. I'll do it for free. I'll do it for very low cost. Because I was living in Egypt at the time, it was easy to do that because, you can live there for a fraction of the cost that you can live anywhere else. So I did freelancing for a couple of years and it was great, and it kind of kept me ticking over. And it gave me the ability to learn a lot of new things. But it wasn't until 2007 that I officially had a company. And when my company started, it was because I met my husband and I got pregnant. So when the company started, me and my husband sat down and we were like, this is it. We've got to make this work. So that's really what I did. And yeah, 2007 was the time I officially launched, and 2008 was the time that I read the 4-Hour Work Week. And 2008 was really, within the first 2 years I was earning 6 figures, but it didn't really come until after the first year. Although I was hiring people within 4 months of doing my big official business launch. So
Okay. So you mentioned before the 80-20 rule that, really clicked with you. How do you, or do I suppose correctly that this is still the most important rule for you when it comes to your own business, be it now the virtual Miss Friday or your blog?
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, I think about with business, and the thing that the book really teaches you is that anything is possible, and you make things happen, and you do things. So with regards to the business, it went into six figures when I was doing a lot of the work myself and doing a lot of, the interaction with clients. But later on, into the end of 2009, 2010, that's when I decided to start stepping a little bit away from the billable time, away from the services, and in terms of taking it to a multi-six-figure business, it's very difficult to do that on your own. So I started hiring in team members. I got managers, department managers. So now I take more of a direct one-on-one role with certain clients in terms of my consulting business. But a lot of the work now is done by my team, and basically that's how you get bigger and you grow, and you start to earn passive income from the amount of money that your team, or the amount of time that your team is working as well. So obviously if you only got 40 hours in a week, and you've got 3 people who have all got 40 hours in a week, then you can earn a lot more money.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And you mentioned something important before, that you put in basically 14 work hours first before you could even dream of having something like a 4-hour work week, right? So here is again a topic that comes up again and again, which I think also people usually maybe have a misunderstanding about, that they sit down and suddenly they have a 4-hour work week. It's obviously not the case, and you repeat that also, that first of all, you have to be prepared, obviously, that to work 10, 12, 14 hours per day.
Sure, but a lot of the time with entrepreneurs, they have to go through this learning experience. I mean, if you come out of a job, or you're doing a 9 to 5, and then you all of a sudden want to become an entrepreneur and have your own business online, I think that there's too much stuff online that makes people think that they can just go and do that, and within 24 hours they'll start raking in $100 a day off a website. Yeah. You need to put the initial time in, and I needed to put the initial time in because I basically had to cram in a hell of a lot of learning, which some people spend like maybe 5 years going through that, but for me it happened fairly quickly, but only because of the amount of time I put in and the amount of things that I had to learn in order to make it work. Because when you're working online, which I'd never done before, I mean, I literally only discovered the internet a couple of years before I was doing this. So that was, even the internet was still very new to me at that time. And even then, when I first discovered the internet, it was like I put a CD in the computer and it was AOL, and then it just popped up with a chat box, and I thought that was the internet. So I had to kind of evolve from that a little bit into other things. And when you start working online, particularly as a service provider, you have to take into consideration that you need to have technology, you need to know what systems you're going to be working in, you need to have excellent communication skills in order to be able to translate what you mean online, and to work online, and to understand people online. It took a lot of hard work, but it's just experience. You can fast track experience by working harder.
Yeah, okay. So what is interesting is you said that on the one side, in the beginning you were in a mortgage business and all that stuff, and a very good position. I'm not sure if you had fun with that position or not, but then shaking my head, and then you decide to quit and go into the virtual assistant business. Yeah. I mean, there are lots of people out there who are in a similar position, thinking, come on, I'm not really, I just don't love my job. I would like to do something else. I would like to do something of my own. How did you end up with virtual assistant services, and what is your conclusion, let's say, for others when trying to find their own passion thing, whatever?
Well, it's interesting really, because I thought to myself, because I was in a very salesy position before, and when you have to sell it was selling money really. I was selling money, selling loans and things like that. I really didn't want to do anything where I had to sell anymore, but I really wanted to sort of turn it around and to try and help people. But at the time it was kind of odd for me. I came across virtual assistants. I had to do a lot of research, especially when I first got to Egypt. I had very little funds, so I had to do a lot of research into the possibilities of the things that I could do that would potentially bring in some immediate income for me. And it didn't have to be that much, because I was living in a third world country at the time. So I was just thinking to myself, what could I do that's potentially going to bring in some more immediate income for me now? And back then in 2005, things were very different on the internet than these days. We didn't have, these, amazing, things, products that pop out of nowhere, and things that you can buy and just click a button and it's all automated. I started looking into things like developing products, doing the affiliate kind of stuff. I was really looking into the options of what people could do with making money online, but none of them seemed very immediate to me. Despite the fact that, there were a few sales pages that promised riches if you did that, this, that and the other, it didn't seem real. I don't know, I just didn't buy it. I didn't buy it. And then I thought to myself, well, if you're dealing with people, if you're dealing with humans and human interaction, if you're good with people, there must be a way to translate that online and to basically help people online with their businesses. And because I'd come out of this, sort of banking admin, I'd had PA roles in the past as well, and office manager roles and things like that. It was kind of a natural progression for me to kind of take those skills, my own personal skills and the things that I love to do, like organisation, and I'm very methodical, I'm very logical. I can look at people's businesses, or I can look at things online, and I can move them around and shape them into something better. So for me, going down the services route seemed like a better option. But at that stage, I never considered, really, it was actually probably around the 4-hour work week that I really considered the potential of being able to hire larger numbers of people and not be so anal about holding on to everything, because it took me a long time to let go. Although I was hiring people to help me in my business, I was still pretty much, being the bottleneck of everything, the bottleneck of the business. And I wanted to really get away from that. So I had to start letting go, and I had to start learning more how to delegate and how to put procedures in place to make sure that other people were able to replicate the things that I was doing. And that's when I started to get more into the whole team building aspect of it. And as soon as you start utilizing very good people in your business, no matter what businesses it is, but particularly in the services business where technically you're selling your time in exchange for something, a service, a website, administration, that type of thing. You just have to learn really the systems, how you're going to work it, and you have to be very methodical about the way you strategize your business. And that sort of came later on for me because I needed the experience. But now, fortunately, there's a very healthy balance in my life, in my business. A lot to do with the amount of energy and time I put in over the years. A lot to do with my own mindset of, letting go a little bit. Sometimes it's very difficult to do that when you have a family to take care of and, a lifestyle to maintain, I suppose. We never wanted to stop traveling. So you really have to just go for it and sit down and think about the different ways that you can make more money and without doing more yourself. And the services industry is a very good way to do that. It's an impeccable way to do that.
Okay. Would you start out with the service business again, or would you really heavily reconsider it and maybe do something like a digital product that is really, you create it once and hopefully you sell it, several millions of times?
I would always do a service business. I've dabbled in products. I've had clients who have sold products online or started working with us to try and develop a product-based business or a product-based website. And it's tough, you know, to sell a product. Say you have an ebook or something like that, which is $20. Imagine how many freaking ebooks you have to sell in order to to make, you know, $25,000-$30,000 a month. It's a lot of ebooks, and it's not only that.
If you know do it, and you're like this Mike Geary from one of Tim Ferriss's latest success stories. I'm not sure if you have read it. The making millions of dollars in ebooks. So
yeah. Oh God, it's possible, but it's not possible for me. You need list building. You need influential people around. I mean, in terms of affiliates, you can get lucky and you can find an affiliate or maybe 2 or 3 affiliates with massive lists who want what you want, and you can do all the hype and all the stuff like that. But to me, that's hard work. I mean, to develop a campaign for a product, you know, to create that product, to develop the campaign, to build up the trust, to get the testimonials, you know, it seems too slow for me. Whereas with a service business, you can start right away. You can start earning money from day one.
Okay.
So to me, yeah, I would always do a service business. But a lot of that as well is because I love it. I like the idea of passive income. I've created products myself based on my own experience. I've got a training program now, a business program, which teaches people step by step my own business model of what I did with Virtual Miss Friday. Obviously in the later stages when I turned it into a 6-figure business, and you know, I sell that and it sells well, and I'm very happy with that product. And I have a membership site which I'm working on now, which you know is going very well for me, called the VA Passport, thevapassport.com. So I've got, you know, I got my hand in these little things, but it's more off the back of my own business, that I'm creating these products now. But the problem with products and the problem with selling things like ebooks and things like that, or any kind of product, I think it's okay if you're doing it as an affiliate, but I would feel really iffy selling something that I didn't really know anything about or had no knowledge of myself. So I tend to like to create products or sell products or affiliate with people where I have some sort of a knowledge of what's going on. I don't like the idea of not really understanding or knowing the stuff that I'm selling or the products that I'm getting into. But the fortunate thing is I've worked with many clients, a lot of clients in different industries and different businesses, and I would miss also that aspect and the continuous learning aspect of being in the service industry and working with so many awesome people and clients. I'd do services any day.
Yeah, okay. One thought that just came up is, because, you know, I would assume that most of the listeners are, you know, in this stage where they have a job, but they want to get out somehow, want to create something, some sort of a 4-hour work week muse. But they cannot see, or most of us, I think, have a difficulty seeing the big picture, what is possible in the future. And you just mentioned also before that it's kind of also, don't remember how you say it, you know, it's all in the mind a little also, you know, that maybe where it starts. If you look back at the time where you started, you know, okay, it was before the 4-hour work week, but if you look back at that time and look at yourself now, what conclusions do you draw, which might also be of interest for people who are in that position that you were in and don't dare to make the leap?
It's interesting. If somebody had told me back in 2005 that, you know, 5 years later I'd be working online, still traveling with a multi-6-figure online business where, you know, it basically all operated from the computer, I'd be like, no way. No freaking way.
Get out of here.
But you never know what's going to happen. You never know how your life will change, how your life will evolve. And most of the time, the things that have happened to me have more been circumstantial, you know, and you can never predict anything like that. The problem is that, you know, society and the trends in society make us think a certain way, you know. A lot of people thought I was absolutely mad to sell my house and to just pack a bag and go to a country which, to Egypt. It's like, why Egypt? But why not?
Yeah.
So I think you just got to not think about it too much and do it. And really, my mindset then, I was always very much, from the age of 18, I owned a house. I was very much always looking to the future, always planning, always trying to think of how my life was going to be when I was 30, 40, 50. And I'm 30 now, and my life is completely different to how I thought it was going to be. So all that planning and thinking really did me no good, because it turned out completely different to how I imagined. You have to take risks, you have to step out of your comfort zone, and sometimes if you have a dream, if you have a vision, and you have to just go for it and try it. Otherwise, you could be sitting there thinking, planning for it 10 or 20 years down the line. I was very fortunate because I left when I was only 23. I spent my 24th birthday in Egypt, and I guess at that age, I was kind of a little bit more young and foolish, really, than most people. But it worked out for me, and I had a lot of faith in myself. I knew I had a very heavy motivator for it, and I think what motivates you and drives you is very big. You need something awesome and amazing to look forward to in order to be able to to take that decision to do the 4-hour work week lifestyle. And providing you've got something driving you behind you, I think you'll be fine. The fear of having to go back to England and having to go back to my old life and my job and the commuting, and it really pushed me and drove me to become successful in my business, to do enough and then more, to not have to live out my fears and have to go back. And I haven't, and it's been great, and it gets easier.
I like that very much, because I think in most cases people, when fear sets in, they get paralyzed by fear and they don't do anything. But you're the opposite. You said fear kind of actually drove you, inspired you. Because you were afraid of, as you said, going back to England and having, even maybe to go back to your old job that you didn't like, obviously. So as you said before, it's all in the mind. You can let fear paralyze you, or you can let fear drive you. And I think it's pretty much your own decision how you use fear. If you use it as a paralyzer or as a motivator.
But if it paralyzes you, it will hinder you. And it will stop you from letting yourself go and seeing what you're capable of, seeing what you're capable of achieving, because you'll always be holding back. Even if you start taking those little baby steps towards doing something, fear will always hold you back. But often fear is just a fantasy. We make up all these crazy things in our head, all the potential things that could happen, and nothing is ever really that bad. So what if you disappear off to another country and it doesn't work out? You can go back. There's no. So what if you quit your job and it doesn't work out? You'll find another job.
Yeah.
But if you don't try, you'll never know.
Exactly. Very interesting, very inspiring. Especially that how you're dealing with fear. And okay, now going back to 2012. You are, as you said, you are the owner of a multi-six-figure business, successful entrepreneur, doing training, doing blogging successfully, etc., etc. And you're using, as we said in the beginning, your businesses to live a nomadic lifestyle. Although you're married and you have 2 children, age 3 and 4. So basically, your children are growing up with this nomadic lifestyle. I suppose you don't see any problems with that. But what are of course, people who see that might talk, etc. So what's basically the biggest issues that you're facing with that kind of lifestyle?
Okay.
For having in mind people who are maybe in a similar position, who have maybe a 4-hour work week, a business or a muse, and they would go more into nomadic lifestyle living, but they are, again, fear the fighting fear, because they
Yes.
might be married and children, etc.
Yeah, it's interesting really because a lot of people, I didn't kind of sort of introduce my family into the business or talk about them much. I kept it very businessy, and a lot of people just thought that I was, you know, in my business I was living in England because I was virtual, and obviously I'm British. People just always used to naturally assume that I was living in England. And then I was talking to a client one day, and he was like, "Do you think you could drive to me up to London to have a meeting?" And I was like, "No, I'm in France." You know, so because I was living in France at the time, and then that's when it started. You know, that's when my clients started to realize that I was, you know, nomadic, and they were like, "Weird, don't you have a kid?" And I was like, "Yeah." And that's when I realized that people were starting to become interested in this thing of having a family and how it's possible to travel with children and to live this kind of lifestyle. It's a lot easier when they're younger, because obviously when they're babies, I mean, our entire life we don't have staff in our lives. We have a car, which is a very beat up old Honda Shuttle, which is a 7-seater car with a roof box, and all our possessions fit in that car, including us and our children.
Okay.
So we travel very, very light, and we basically just try to, we've been doing Europe because we were a little bit concerned, I suppose, about taking the kids around the Middle East, although we're going to be going back there soon, after we've done Crete. I think we'll be going back there at least to visit for a while, maybe spend a few months or something. But my son is getting to the age now where he needs to, we fully appreciate he needs friends and things, and he needs to have a school and a more kind of social environment. So whilst it's fine when they're young, you can travel around, you can put them in the car, you can put all their stuff in the car and you can drive around with them. As they get older to school age, you know, you can homeschool, but we wanted to put them in a proper school. But it doesn't have to be in England or America. My husband's from America, by the way. So, yeah, so we're going to actually see if we can get them into a little school. We're in Italy at the moment, so they're not in school now. My son has literally only just turned 4, and my daughter is still 2. She'll be 3 in a couple of weeks, a few weeks. So they're still very young, but when we get to Greece, we're going to see if we can get them into a little Greek school and maybe get them talking Greek so they can translate for us.
Well, they say that the young age is very good for learning languages. So, and you said that your son is, or for your son, it will be now the 5th country, right, where he lives. Okay, for the first years he didn't really realize it, but
yeah,
it's the 5th
he's
country.
4 years old, and we've lived in 4 countries, so he's well travelled. I never even went on a plane until I was 17.
Okay, and Greece will be his 5th country. So, what is? Do you have any suggestions about this nomadic lifestyle when it comes to children? You know, and when people are in this phase where they say, "I have this business, I am on the good way of outsourcing it, or I have this location independent business, but I just don't have. I cannot see myself every year, maybe somewhere else because of the children, maybe."
I think it all depends really on your attitude towards your children. I mean, at the end of the day, my children are only sort of coming up to 3 and 4, so I'm not kind of thinking about their Harvard education at the moment or what university they're going to. For me, the most important thing is that growing up, my children see the world from a different angle and a different viewpoint than I did. Living in England and growing up in England, I was very fortunate. England is a lovely country. I love my people, but it's very fixed. And the people sometimes can be a little bit fixed too, you know, and we have these ideas of how we should live our lives, you know, and there's it's like chronological order. Certain things happen at certain times in a child's life or people's lives, and you have to kind of step outside of the box and not think that way anymore. My children have done so many things and seen so many things that other children would never get the opportunity to see. And for me, that experience is invaluable, really, especially at such a young age. And I would like my children to know that there are different cultures out there, that there are different people, there are different standards of living. And I hope that it will really open their eyes and their minds as they're growing up. You know, and I don't think about the future very much, to be honest with you. It's like I said before, I was constantly thinking about the future and what's going to happen, you know, in 3, 5 years, 10 years down the line, but you don't know. We take our lives each day as it comes, and we do always what we feel is best for us as a family. So if you are a family, if you have children, you know, it's not so bad if your children have a little bit of an unconventional life, if they, you know, go to different schools or meet different children or have to learn in different languages. I think when a child gets to the age of 6, or I've heard this, you know, around when a child gets to the age of 6, it's more difficult in terms of schooling to pick up a language and things like that. But this is kind of why we're going to Greece this year. My husband and I really loved Egypt. We met in Egypt. It's a beautiful country. It's where we felt most at home. But we can't go really back there with the children, I suppose because of the concerns that we have about, you know, raising our children in Egypt. But we figured that Greece is very close and it's still in the EU, and, you know, so we're just kind of feeling our way around Europe at the moment and seeing if we can get as close to Egypt as we possibly can, and Crete seemed like a good thing. I got my rough guide to Crete here as well already with me. And yeah, we're going to give it a go. I booked a year because of the way we live our lives. I actually live in holiday accommodation. I have done for forever thing, since 2005. So I basically go on holiday accommodation websites and I negotiate longer term rentals. So we don't have to get involved in the contractual things, you know, of normal rentals. So we just kind of drift around in holiday homes and hope for the best. But we're going to Crete for a year. We're going to see how it goes. Who knows? We might stay a bit longer if the kids like it.
For everybody who happens to be around Heraklion for summer vacation, can arrange a meeting with you, right?
Absolutely.
For coffee.
Yes, absolutely. It's interesting because I always say wherever I go, if you happen to be here, you know, look me up. Yeah, if you're in Crete, come and say hi.
Definitely, I think it's a good vacation destination, definitely, and for sure, also a good place to live for a year. So you change location every year, basically, right?
Yeah, we've been here less than a year. We're in Italy now, so we came to Italy in August, and we'll be leaving April. So it's 7 months.
Okay. And in order for you to be able to live that nomadic lifestyle, let's say, and you know, of course, Italy and Greece are not the cheapest places to be. Of course, we said that your company is a multi-six-figure business, so you can obviously also kind of afford it, you know, to go to those places. But on the other side, it's also you need to have time. You know, you're a successful entrepreneur. You have your own business running. You're the manager of that business. So how do you exactly make sure that wherever you are, you can really enjoy also the time there and not having to work, you know, those 24 hours per day and neglecting your family and whatever?
Yeah, it's interesting question, because a lot of people would think that this kind of lifestyle must be very difficult to maintain, but really it's not. I mean, yes, you have to earn a decent amount of money if you want to kind of do this, especially living in holiday accommodation, because everyone's like, God, you booked holiday accommodation for a year, it's going to cost you a fortune. And it does, but, you know, at least you get things like housekeepers and stuff, which is nice. But yeah, I had to build the business up to a certain level in order to be able to do this kind of travel. And like I say, we don't have any staff, so moving around is fairly inexpensive for us. We just get in the car and go, basically. But I do have in terms of the business, I do have an international business corporation, which means I don't have to re-register businesses every time I go to another country. So I have an international business corporation, which is generally like an offshore company. So that kind of keeps all my, the businessy stuff and the paperwork stuff with my accountant, and that kind of side of the business is dealt with by somebody else. I like paying people who are qualified to do their thing. And then obviously in terms of my own business, it's all run online. So I've got my Mac, my little MacBook Air, and I have an iMac as well. So basically I set my office up wherever I can find a space in wherever we're living, and I spend most of my time on the the laptop or the iPad or something like that. So because of the way the business is, I do the consulting, I do a lot of planning, a lot of organization, I do oversee all the teams, but I have managers. So the way I've done it is I've got the capacity to take on a lot of clients and business at a personal level, with me sort of working directly with the clients, but there's a lot of things going on in the background. I have a lot of support from my team, and that's really the secret, or the key, to being able to do this and earn the kinds of income. It's just having the other people around who are there to support you and help you. And I'm safe in the knowledge that, I have 3 main departments in my business. So it's broken down into 3 sections. The administrative side of the company, and the technical creative design side of the company, and the SEO side of the company. So we're a complete online business service. And because we've got these 3 sections, I need 3 managers, and my managers are completely amazing. The way they work with me, the way they work with the team and directly with the clients, it's actually the business model and the strategy behind my business model which has given me the ability to be able to step back. I spend every day with my children. I do like work in the evenings. It's easier for me to do that, but I pick and choose when I would like to work. And my husband is one of the managers of the departments, so he's with me as well, and we kind of share responsibilities with the kids and life. And the more the business grows, the bigger it becomes, the easier life gets. And the more technology is helping us, the more we're able to find good staff, the better things become. It gives me more ability to really think more about the strategy behind my business and how I'm delegating, really.
Yeah. Okay, so basically you're doing what everybody suggests who knows about entrepreneurship, is work on your business instead of in your business.
Yes, that's absolutely what I do. I focus primarily on consulting, one-on-one consulting with my clients, because it's very profitable. Although my VA services bring in a certain amount of money, the consulting side of what I do brings in another chunk of money. So having that consulting side of the business has been good for me. I can then leave the VA services, and I can be the brains behind it. And then when I put a strategy in place for a client, or I'm working on a client's business, and I say to a client, right, this is what we need to do, bum 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 bum, I can then delegate that out to my team, and I know it's going to be done right. I know that they're all going to work together, and I know that it's going to turn out okay. And that's the biggest thing about a business, is letting go and letting it, and letting other people do the work for you or with you. But that's kind of the place that I'm at the moment. So I do the consulting, and then the majority of the time, the rest of the time, I'm working with the other people in my coaching side of things, in my VA programs, my membership site. I'm working on other various little products that I want to do, basically because I want to. It's fun. And I think you need to have other projects, and you need to have other interests as well. And I'm also working continuously on business development and new clients and refining my clients as well, and working more with the people that I want to work with and love to work with. So it's a great place to be. In terms of being an entrepreneur, in terms of having a business, it's a great place to be. I know entrepreneurs who have got, you know, factories and shops and things like that, and it doesn't provide that same level of flexibility, that same level of freedom that you can have by working online and doing this type of thing. So I'm so lucky, very lucky.
Okay, sounds very good. And I mean, you know, it's of course a classical question, but nonetheless very important. Looking back, is there anything that you definitely say don't do that when it comes to, you know, trying to fulfill your 4-hour work week?
Don't compromise on quality ever. I've seen a lot of people try to develop their businesses, certainly through doing it on the cheap, or, you know, trying to cut corners, and when you do that you just end up wasting your money. Always go for quality. Have a, you know, not just in terms of the people that you work with and the people that you bring onto your business, but just in terms of the choices that you make in your business. Make sure that if you're going to do anything, if you're going to provide a service, make sure it's a quality service. If you're going to sell a product, make sure it's a quality product. Don't ever compromise on the things that you're offering, and don't ever compromise on your presentation. You want to gain credibility, you want to gain trust, and, you know, by investing in your business and really investing in what's going on around you, then you will be able, in your personal development, you will be able to fast track it much quicker than if you were trying to cut corners and do things on the cheap. There is no quick and easy.
Okay. And on the other side, is there something like your number one, I don't know, tip for what that has helped you very much?
My number one tip. My number one tip really is
if there's something like that, because, you know, you might be saying, well, you know, it's basically it's the overall picture of things that I have done correctly, but, you know. And you said that there's no such thing as a you know, quick and easy success or so, but maybe there is something where you say, okay, this is definitely you know, something that has helped me tremendously.
Yeah, I put a lot of hours in, and probably unnecessarily, and this is another thing. Although I was spending 14 hours a day sort of learning all these systems and all this technology, what I didn't have at all back then was and I never really did at all throughout the whole industry, is have a mentor or somebody who had been there and done it, and done what I had done or I was trying to do, and, you know, could actually help me and guide me and point me in the right direction. So I think if you want to fast track it as much as you possibly can, invest or follow or read blogs or do something from people who have already done what you are trying to do. Okay. See if you can take tips from them, replicate them. You know, a mentor, I think these days, is priceless. I didn't have one. I think that's why, you know, it took me so long to try and, you know, develop my business and get it off the ground and get it to where I really wanted it to be. But not just from a sense, you know, a financial sense, because it was pretty much looking after, taking care of me from day one. Because of the way I was and the way I'd set it up and how hard I worked. But if I'd had somebody who had already done it and was able to tell me or help me, or someone I can go to ask questions like, I'm thinking of doing this in my business, and, you know, what do you think? I think it would have been a lot easier, and I was pretty much going it alone for a long time. Which was, I suppose, good in a sense, because I learned a lot of things through trial and error, but I also lost a lot of money that way as well. So invest in self-development, in learning from people who are achieving what you would like to achieve.
Yeah. That's why, of course, we are very thankful. And when I say we, I mean the fans of the 4-Hour Work Week book and philosophy who are trying to set up their own business.
Yes.
We are very thankful for people like you who spend an hour of their day, having an interview like that. who can be, this interview can already be something, a sort of a mini mentor maybe for some, and for others who are interested in getting really, let's call it hardcore mentoring, spending money and time for mentoring. You did mention something about personal training and consulting. Would you consider yourself therefore also as a mentor for our work week people?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly for anybody who is looking to have a more independent kind of lifestyle, a freedom lifestyle, certainly anybody who's looking to travel, especially with a family, because it's not that common these days to find traveling families. But somebody who really would like to make money in the online service industry the right way, about going about it. And yeah, I'm kind of a nice person, I think. Yeah. Even if you just want to hook up on Twitter or Facebook or something like that and say hi, that's fine. But yes, I'm very much into the mentorship now, especially since I created this business program, which is, it's not like any other business program out there, because it is my business model, start to finish, from scratch, everything that I did right, everything that the systems and processes that I now use in my business, and everything that took it to the point where I was able to then step away and do my own projects, work on my own stuff, spend more time with my family. I really wanted to give something back. So the business program, which is the vaapprentice.com, is very much a mentorship coaching thing, as well as a lot of practical information and training. But not only that, we also build the business, because when I was starting out, one of the biggest issues for me was that I needed to spend a year learning Dreamweaver, which is a real pain in the neck. And I didn't at that time really have money to invest in a web developer and to be doing loads of changes to my site and everything. So on my business program, myself and my team, my wonderful tech team and admin team and creative team, we build the business for you as well. So it's another way to kind of shortcut all the technical stuff and not having to learn it all yourself. So
okay, great. So for everybody who after this interview thinks, well, I think Michelle has definitely a couple of things that I can learn, and wants to make use of that, what's the address again where they can reach you?
Okay, the best address is probably my blog, virtualassistant-live.com. If you want to check out my VA company, it's virtualmissfriday.co.uk or .com. The training, the business program, where we help you take your business online for an online service provider company, is the vaapprentice.com. And my membership site, where it's very cool, it's very fun, you learn a lot of stuff in there as well, it's the vapassport.com.
Okay, great. Really enjoyed the interview, Michelle, and I have no doubt that people will be interested in checking out your site some more and seeing if maybe how far you can also help them and speed up their process to success. Although of course, as we said, there is obviously no there might be a fast track to success, but no really. Usually no really overnight success stories.
Yeah.
So anything else you would like to add before we close the interview?
No, just thank you so much, and I'm really looking forward to coming to Greece. I know you're in Greece, so I've been dreaming about this.
We'll still be 1,000 kilometers away, more or less. I think. Yeah, should be. Not 1,000, but it might be actually 1,000, but somewhere around 700 to 1,000 kilometers. But Crete is of course a destination to go to. So I might happen to be there again.
Okay.
Or if you are in
Thessaloniki, meet you in a bar somewhere along the beach for a couple of ouzos or something like that.
Exactly, and of course, if whatever kind of business or spare time activity brings you to Thessaloniki, feel free to give me a ring or to contact me.
Absolutely, thank you.
Michelle, thanks a lot again, and enjoyed the interview. And yeah, I hope you will be available in case somebody has a question on our site. And
absolutely,
I'm sure everybody learned a lot from your experience today.
Thank you so much.